Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. Today I'm going to talk about something that has really been on my mind. When I say on my mind, I mean it's really been here. I mean, it's very hard these days for you to say anything against the trans people without you being labeled being transphobic.
A man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's just common sense.
I don't know what to say. It's getting harder to be trans in the UK day by day. But then the Prime Minister, the person who is running this country, says some shit like this.
We shouldn't get bullied into believing that people can be any sex they want to be. They can't.
It can be hard to be living through the toxic environment that we're living through. And I'm not talking about climate change here, I'm talking about the rampant transphobia.
Ooh. Geez, this is really out of control these days. And personally, I do not believe that the word transphobia should really be an English word in the first place. But don't just take my word for it, let's just dive into it. But before we do so, please subscribe to this channel, that's if you have not. And ring the notification bell so you don't get to be sad on any of our update. Let's talk about this. Okay, first of all, I did a little search, beginning with the root word phobia here. And according to this article by healthline.com, it says that phobia is an excessive or irrational fear reaction. If you have a phobia, you may experience a deep sense of dread or panic when you encounter the source of your fear. The fear can be a certain place, situation, or object. Unlike general anxiety disorders, a phobia is usually connected to something specific. Okay, I'll just take this one more line and I'll stop. The impact of a phobia can range from annoying to severely disabling. This article by thecoveryvillage.com says that people with specific phobias will do everything they can to avoid what is causing their fear, even when doing so greatly interferes with their daily lives. Ooh. Did you hear that? That people with a specific phobia will do anything to avoid those phobias. Now, there are a lot of phobias here, according to this article, but interestingly, transphobia is not one of them. And it begs to ask the question, does it mean that transphobia isn't really a phobia in the first place? Now, don't get me wrong, I mean, they have something like homophobia, and they have something like pedophobia, and of course, the phobia that almost everybody knows about, what they call the glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. But one thing about all of this phobia is that the object of the fear itself is not crying out. The object of fear itself is not calling for help and calling on the government to do something about it. I mean, people shouldn't be afraid of speaking and standing and speaking before other people. I mean, the state should actually be clamoring for the government to do something about it, right? Is it not crazy that when it now comes to the word trans and the attachment of the word phobia, that the object is now the one that's actually doing all the cries and all the clamors for government to interfere and do something about them? According to this article, when you are I mean, if I encounter a friend who happened to be a trans person, first of all, I would be in shock. Yeah, and that shock would actually make me to kind of withdraw from the person for the moment before trying to figure out what to do with him. But it's actually very crazy, as with most of the things that we see in our societies today, that when people do anything or say anything that's not in support of the trans community, they label you transphobic, as if the word transphobia is, I mean, it's really crazy. Yeah, because some of them kind of say that the word transphobia should be categorized the same with things like racism. That's really crazy. According to this article on Wikipedia, it says that transphobia consists of negative attitudes, feelings, or actions towards transgender people or transness in general. Now, first of all, if you observe this, then you will understand that it's actually going too extreme over the root word itself, which is phobia. And just like we said before, the word phobia just means fear of something. But how come this trans definition is now taking it more extreme negative attitude, feelings, or actions towards transgender people or transness in general. Transphobia can include fear, aversion, hatred, violence, or anger towards people who do not conform to gender roles. Wow, really? I mean, why are they using these definitions that are so extreme, more extreme than the root word itself? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But let's continue. It went on to say that transphobia is a type of prejudice or discrimination similar to racism, sexism, or ableism, and is closely associated with homophobia. As if that was not enough for the Wikipedia definition, this article by webmd.com says that transphobia describes someone who has hate, fear, or disgust for transgender people, or anyone who does not fit into the male-female gender binary. If that's okay, let it not be as if I am just kind of expressing the same thing that they are defining, which I don't think I am doing. The idea of transgenderism in the first place is still a shock to so many people in the world today. And when people experience shock, things like culture shock in the first place, do you expect them to open up their arms wide open and embrace it? No, there would be a kind of withdrawal from the person. And as the root word phobia implies from our initial definition, that the person who experiences phobia will do anything to avoid the object of the fear. So why are you guys now relating the word transphobia to mean kind of racism and all of this extremities of human actions? It really doesn't make any sense, because if you ask me, and this is actually the crux of this video, people who label others transphobia are just one thing. Yeah, they are nature phobic. I'm not sure whether that word exists, but if it doesn't exist, you guys should try and include it in the dictionary. Because, I mean, there are things that we have known to be natural right from the beginning of times. So if you kind of experience fear of those things, then you are really being nature phobic or naturophobic, as the case may be. I mean, I like how Candace Owens puts it.
Hello.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who actively feel victimized by your presence here today?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question.
Exactly. Life is so hard, so get a helmet. You don't expect people, just because you declare yourself to be, oh, I am trans, so people should now open up their arms and embrace you. You are just being nature phobic, because life in itself is hard, not to talk of when you are trying to go against what nature has been designed to become even before you were born. Life is hard. Now, I'm saying this just for all the transgender people out there, that all this kind of extremities of definition doesn't necessarily mean that people hate you. No. If you're calling it phobia, people will do anything to avoid the object of fear in the first place. So calling on the government to do something literally means that every other form of phobia, the object should also call on the government, or the government itself should rise up in the first place and step in on behalf of the object of our fears and discomfort. So the world is so vast. Yeah, you have your ideology to live by. If you decide to become a trans person, that's your own choice. But trying to label other people to be so extreme towards you just because they do not accept what you are telling them doesn't necessarily mean that they are being racist. I mean, just opposing things like transphobia with racism, I think that's too extreme for people who are really making these definitions up. Because if you really feel that people are being transphobic once again towards you, then you may just check around yourself, because you may really be suffering from naturophobia. That's if that one exists. Thank you guys for watching up to this point. If you watched up to this point, please do well to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring the notification bell so you don't get to miss out on any of our updates. Till I come your way again, P for peace.